Q. We are today here to talk about our Shadow 2s, how we built them, why we built them that way, and why we continue to use them, as well as what our future goals may be with them. But all in all, the goal of today is to talk about Shadow 2s. Brandon, I was at a match on Monday night at Ann Arbor Arms. They're obviously Ann Arbor, Michigan. Who they throw awesome indoor matches, dude. Like, not to dog any other ones, but they throw the best indoor matches in Michigan in the wintertime. And I generally do while I RO the whole damn time. It's me and then Alex, Manny Talk Shooting, who is the king of these podcasts, but um, he's generally the other RO as well, or KJ Lane. But I RO'd the whole time. And man, I'll tell you what, we had a 12-man squad, and I'm pretty sure 7 dudes were shooting Shadow 2. And last year, 5 or 6 of them weren't.
There's a good reason for it. I mean, they're picking the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, even as I'm showing here, and we'll get into all of this nitty gritty here in a second, but I told myself I wanted to go to 2011. I want a 2011. So what did I do? I bought a 2011 with a CZ Shadow 2 grip or a CZ 75 grip, right? Then I moved forward to continue to carry a CZ PO1. Now, obviously, you and I are very aware of why that is. But before I go off on my little rant about it, Brandon, tell me about your Shadow 2. But I want you to start with, how did you end up with the Shadow 2 and why did you initially want one?
Well, it's only my second year competing, so I ended up starting with Glock because, I mean, military guy, like everyone owns a Glock at least at some point. So I started there.
I don't. I've never owned a Glock, and I'll never own a Glock. But
Then disregard. I found the one outlier. Well, that's why I started on, just because that's what I always had, and then I always felt like something was just off with my grip, and it being a Glock, that's kind of the nature of the beast, unless you like silicone carbide or Talon grip or something. But then when I started shooting down in Louisiana at Century Defense, one of the dudes there told me to just try his. Like, after the match, it was an indoor match, he just said, "Hey, just try it out and let me run a mag through his Shadow 2." And I got it. I completely understood why going to like that heavy weight of a steel frame gun, it was designed to be such like a low riding reciprocating mass on the slide, and just the grip angle felt better. I just knew like that was the gun. Like, I needed to get one and just get time on it. Like, obviously training, anyone can be good with just about anything, but it just felt like it fit my hands. And he started talking me through how the different grip panels, the palm swells, adding weight to in front. That's kind of how I got into mine, and I've been shooting them ever since. I firmly believe it's a top choice when it comes to competition. I never carried one, but I would if I had to.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if as much as I love it, I don't know if I could carry it. But then again, if it was completely stock and hammer was down and you were pulling from double action, but I mean, like that, the Shadow 2 compact, I've very on and off toyed with the idea of it. But I like my PO1 and it has a decocker. I mean, but the CZ Shadow 2 compact is the replacement for the PO1. It's an optics ready PO1. It is literally like a 1/4 inch longer. That's it.
I haven't got my hands on one, but guys say they're good.
Yeah, I did a review on.
They're aluminum though, right? They're not steel, right?
If I remember, no, my PO1 is aluminum.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure the Shadow 2 compact was stainless. I've done so much since I don't own one myself, but I'm pretty sure it was also a steel grip. It was all steel. It was just a hair shorter.
Okay.
But I had
Okay.
thought the same thing too, and I think I remember somebody correcting me either on my video or just before I did it, and I swore I looked it up 5 times and I still messed it up, but, that happens. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in here could, tell us whether or not the Shadow 2 Compact was an aluminum grip or a stainless steel grip. Again, I did a review on it. I should know, but
Yeah,
I shot
I
like
didn't know, so
400 rounds.
I'm not a big technical gunsmith guy, so I didn't know. I've never touched
Yeah.
one.
I mean, I coat and I do quite a bit, so I should. But I shot a couple hundred rounds a day and did a review, and I've been editing all afternoon. I'm a little brain fried and at the moment, at least as far as trying to think of something I did a year ago. But
Oh yeah.
anyway, uh, yeah,
So
I could have.
how did you get to yours then? Like, because
Well,
you're saying you got the 2011 one and a standard Shadow 2. So then,
right.
how'd you
So
get to that?
how'd I get to the Shadow 2 itself, right?
Yeah, yeah. How'd you get to them? Because you had another platform before that that I know of.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Quite a few people know of that one, right?
Hmm.
So for those who may not have never seen, if you've ever seen the short video of the dude shooting steel with a 6 hour 320 max, and it goes ding, 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 boom, in his hands and blows into a cloud of smoke. That was me. That was my hands. That was my 320. Um, and I have some good friends that sick nowadays, so I don't bash on them too much. I dealt with a particular person, and that person decided the ultimatum they did. But what came from 6 hour, and I tell you what, I loved shooting that gun when I had it. But after it exploded on me, and I essentially needed a complete upper rebuild going into my first major of the year, Michigan sectional, um, and they essentially told me to kick rocks. Uh, they just tried to blame the ammo like everybody else does. I was running factory ammo at that time. I didn't even get into reloading yet for almost another year. But yeah, it exploded about 4 weeks out from Michigan sectional, and I was in a predicament. And big time thanks to some great supporters that I have. One of my top sponsors now, Hunters Insight Firearms and Reloading Systems. They did absolutely everything under their power to get me a Shadow 2 in as soon as possible. Because the moment over those next few days I knew that SIG wasn't getting replaced, obviously I didn't want to work with that company anymore, considering how that went so, quickly. It is what it is. It's my personal experience, but that's how I went to the Shadow 2. I looked at the guys around me and what were they shooting, right? The best shooters, that they weren't shooting the 2011 as open because limited optics wasn't around yet. Your options were what, a Tanfo or Shadow 2, and Tanfo has a lot less support to it for someone new getting into it at that time. But the Shadow 2 just seemed like, all right, it's something all metal. I'm done with polymer. I've been a contractor for almost 5 years. I've been doing concrete for a long time. I have monkey hands, right? So a lot of grip strength, a lot of forearm strength, big hands. I needed something heavy. I preferred weight in my guns. I had noticed over, something lighter, so I already was attracted to it. I started this game on a Beretta M9, so I was already very much so used to double action, single action. And as nice as Striker Fire was, I was very much so happy to get back into the, I guess, more mechanical feel. I don't know if you can relate to that, but mechanical feel of the Shadow 2 versus something like a Glock, or you know what I mean?
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just like I can feel everything. I can feel the prep more to me. It's not saying it's better. Some other guy could have the complete opposite feel about a 6 hour, and I don't feel it with the shit. It's super subjective, right? The
Yeah.
best gun for you is the best gun that fits in your hands and you use the best at the end of the day. But again, like you said with the grips and whatnot, I just knew there was a lot of ability to interchange it, a lot of ability to build it. It wasn't just I was stuck to buying this aftermarket slide or this aftermarket barrel. I had a multitude of options. You talk to 10 different guys about how they built their Shadow 2, and although a lot may be similar, there's always something that's different. So I liked that about the Shadow 2. And nowadays, after 50, 40 something, almost 50,000 rounds on this one right here in the last year and a half, because I got it in 23, April of 23. Um, I, every time I go to something different, I may like it, but then when I start to struggle with it, I go right back to the Shadow 2, and it always is like I was born doing it.
Hmm. Okay. You like the extra weight on there?
I love it, man. I know other guys pick up my gun and they're like, "What this?" Kind of like, yeah, it's like they picked up it's 55, 56 ounces, but limited optics has no weight requirement and take the mag well off for carry optics, and it's still there. Like I still make it. I'm 1 ounce below limit, but I make it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I don't know how you get away with that because I tried it when that was like kind of the rage, and I got out of it quick. I didn't like the weight.
Yeah, see, for me, so I grew up playing hockey. Um, and there was a concept that was big, and this goes for a lot of other sports, but it was putting weights on your skates, right? So if you could practice and end up getting as fast or faster than everybody else, pushing and pulling double the weight, well, the idea there was that then when you pull the weights off, you were 10 times as fast. But for me, when I've tried to do that and pull the weight back off, I'm too fast. And in this game, it's all about balance. So I realized that worked to a point, but what I really did was just make myself used to shooting a very heavy gun. Um, I can still shoot light guns just fine, but when it comes to a competition speed for me, um, as a very ADHD and stimulus driven person, the more that I can control, I guess, like I have a Walther PDP, right? And I use and compete with that. The one thing I don't do with it is shoot it really fast because I can't feel every motion of the recoil. It's I've been an artist my whole life. I am someone, carpenter, concrete. I build race cars. Everything I do is with my hands. I am just very there's a word for it, but and my dexterity skills is kind of how I do everything. Like if I went blind, I'm not that scared because I feel things pretty good. But I'm a very
Hands-on learner, yeah,
I
like
need to
very
feel it. I need
yeah.
to feel it. If I can't feel it, I can't just think it into feeling. I feel it and I develop on what I feel into how I see it. So for me, just being able to control that recoil, and this doesn't mean soft rounds. I've also my power factor, my ammo is 137, 138. Like I'm there. I don't do the sluggish stuff. I just the weight I can control because I come from being a bodybuilder as well. So I feel more controlled moving something moderately weighted than I do moving something weightless. Like I'm not someone who ever needed a carbon fiber bike if I was racing a bike. I don't want that. It's too light for me. And it's
Mhm.
not that I'm this strong monster of any kind. It's just I've grown up doing the hard shit with my hands. Um, to where for me, I'd rather have a hammer that's 25 ounces, not 18 ounces. Yeah, you got to get used to throwing it, but once you can throw that 25 ounces well, sometimes you can do more or less, or you can do more with less. So, say less swings and more done, I guess you could say. How that crosses over to the gun, I think it's for something more me personally. I'm very fidgety, high energy, so with a light gun, it's a lot easier for me to get into a position and just kind of spaz out a little bit, right? At least in as I'm again not a GM, I am constantly working on um, the balance as you are, as we all are, as the guys at the top are. They're still continuing to constantly develop on that. But I feel it's something that I can still shoot just as fast as everybody else. Um, I just had to learn to control it. But yeah, nobody else likes
Okay.
my gun so much.
Yeah, I can already tell you I wouldn't. I like a medium weight, like sitting around that 40, no more than 45 ounce, just about. Because I can feel it in transitions when I tried the brass and palm swells.
Yeah.
I I don't have the hand size for those palm swells. I didn't like the grip on them to begin with, but the weight is where the first thing I noticed in transitions. So
Yeah.
I didn't care for it, so I just went to aluminum.
You know why you'd extra hate this one then? I can't really show it because I'm not going to turn these two guns around and go like this. But this is a completely custom set on the left. It's actually bumped out an 1/8 inch wider on each side.
Oh, you
So,
added more to it.
I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but just look at how kind of wide they are, how they stick out past the magwell,
Oh, so
the
you have it
sides.
offset. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then if you look at the DWX here, it's flush and concaves into the magwell,
I get what
right?
you're saying.
So yeah, I had thickness. I added thickness to the insides so that I had more because I felt like I was creeping around the gun more and more because my hands are so big. Now there is other guys out there with massive hands who can just swallow it and they're
Mhm.
good. I also have really sweaty hands, so no matter how much I chalk up, I am gripping that gun hard enough and running around hard enough to perspirate. So if it's big enough for me, I'm good. Another reason why I like the 2011s is because that big fat, soda can grip is perfect for me. I just, with the amount that I put into training, into media, and so on, I'm not embarrassed to say I don't have an expendable budget, man.
Yeah.
If and when I do eventually do 2011s, which I will. Now these will always be the Shadow will always be my go-to base camp. But when I do go to 2011s, and again, I will, I'm sure, I've enjoyed shooting them, but I'm not going to say that going to a 2011 is going to change my game at all compared to this because of now how I have customized this to a point of perfection for me. Anything, you'll never hear me blame my gun. it's
Yeah.
it's not it. If there's a problem, it's me. It is not the gun because the gun runs absolutely flawlessly and it fits perfectly.
What else do you have in there? You got it all cajioned out and everything?
So yeah, I got the CZ custom oversized safety. It's obviously the same thing that comes on like the tax sports and whatnot. Trijicon SRO 5. Now I am wanting to swap these out for 2.5. So I prefer the smaller dot, but that's just what I got. So it's what I use. Um, the trigger itself is an armory craft because I didn't like the roundness of the Cajun or stock CZ triggers. I don't like how it's like I was saying about my hands, it gets slippery, long fingers. I have a very particular spot that I put the trigger on my finger, and if I'm running around hard enough, my finger starts to get wet. I don't want to find out that my finger creeped over and slipped. After started pulling the trigger, I want to feel the edge, like a corner of the trigger.
Okay.
Internal wise, it's Cajunized reach reduction kit, full race pro package. So the race hammer, all internals. I do run a 13.5 pound hammer spring though. Every time I pick up somebody else's, I get reminded how soft the double action pull is without it. But and it doesn't play into the single action, but I'm very big on maintenance. I'm very, very big on it. And I don't like any chances. So I don't want any light primer strikes in the middle of a match. I don't even want them in practice because a one in the middle of a practice, yeah, it's something to work through. But I practice malfunctions in dry fire very often, and I'll put dummy rounds in my gun all the time. And throw them in a magazine to practice it, but I don't want to know it's coming. One, obviously, but I also don't want to expect the possibility of such and then go, oh, well, I'll just smack and rack. Like, how about I just put a big enough spring in there and pull the trigger, get used to that trigger weight and go. So that's one thing that's a little different there. And then I run a 12-pound recoil spring stock guide rod. Barrel is the original barrel. Now I have done quite a bit of polishing on here. But the only other thing that's really big besides the lock grips, lock jaws, and brass magwell is I use the CNC Pros optic plate. This was a recommendation by Alex Mansfield. Um, and I forget who he interviewed, but he interviewed a guy who is very has hundreds of thousands of rounds down on Shadow 2s, and he had broken every possible plate there is to break for these guns, and this one is one he could never break. I will say mine's got 50K on it, not a single issue, and they are the only plates that I'm going to use for these guns after that, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, that's, you think there's a lot more to it, but there's not. Yeah, you got, if for anyone who doesn't know what the Cajun Pro pack is, it's your adjustable sear, reach reduction kit, your floating trigger pin, a couple of other pins, your race hammer. It does come with a hammer spring. What else? What else am I missing? The disconnector,
Yep.
and
that you'll have to probably fit.
yeah, that you kind of got to fit a little bit too. And yeah, I mean, there's a few other things, man. It's been so long since I put it together. It's so easy to just say, "Oh, it's just fully Cajunized with an armored craft trigger." Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Most people just kind of know. But yeah, I'm fully Cajunized inside with the flat face trigger, um, which is also very resembled to my 1911 face as well, or 2011 or DWX. But what about yours, dude? What's inside yours?
So for my training gun, same thing, but all this one has is the reach reduction kit in it. I run the aluminum flats.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't like the weight. I know everyone talks about the balance, but like I didn't even notice it in terms of balance. I preferred how my grip fell on the gun, and like the weight on the back end, I never really cared to notice. Like I never noticed some bounce or some drop because it's nose heavy. It's like I thought it was designed that way for a reason. I never really cared. But
I
reach
only
reduction
noticed because
kit.
I put it in slow motion.
What's that?
I only ever noticed once I put it in slow motion.
Yeah, like I mean, if it's noticeable, like if it's oversprung and you're shooting like hot ammo, I can see how that it's returning too hot. I get that, but I never really noticed it. I thought it's just a timing thing for me. But reach reduction kit, I do have to have in there. Like
Right.
I have like very medium sized hands. I think I have like an IMI plate on this one. I've never had an issue with.
Is
This
that
is an
aluminum?
SRO. So
Is it aluminum?
the grips,
No, the plate.
the plate, I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I put it on once, never had to take it off, never had to re-zero. It's the same witness marks I've had on there for a year and a half now.
Jeez. Yeah, I think the most of the time when a plate goes bad, it's either because they run hotter than usual ammo, right? Like standard factory, like 145, 148 power factor, and it just
Yeah.
takes a hell of a beating. Maybe they do tactical training with it where they're racking it on walls, just things like that. So it's like having an aluminum doesn't mean it's going to break, but
Yeah. I think people, I am in the firm belief that I think people fuck with the guns too much.
yeah,
And they
that's
try
kind of
to
what I'm
race
getting
them
at.
out more than is necessary, and they're not tuning it. Because I mean, even if you really think about the mechanics of it, people tricking out to like the 9-pound hammer springs. That's
Right.
affecting the tracking of your slide. It's not just the recoil spring because
Right.
both those springs work in pair. Tension in the hammer spring is also going to slow down your slide because it has to cock the hammer.
Right.
And I think that's causing they're just going back too hard, and it's just the threads are taking a beating.
Yeah.
I think that's what people do, but I mean, I could be wrong. Stuff happens, but
It's kind of like, even if you rack and it's like your standard, say 130 power factor, and it's just going to go, that's one thing, but you loosen everything up to where it's every time. And obviously it could be that hard and just harder, but yeah, that's going to make a freaking difference, man. I
yeah,
couldn't
I
agree
think that's
more.
what it
Ow.
is. Yeah, I mean,
That
other than
hurts.
that, this is my training gun and my backup gun. It's pretty stock. I mean, I do run a 13-pound hammer spring and like a 12-pound recoil. Like I shoot Blazer out of it.
Right.
Like there's nothing special about it. I do like these kind of beveled out lock mag releases.
Yeah, I got
These
one as
square tips.
well.
Yeah, I like those. Those like have a little ledge on them. I do like that.
Yeah, I have one of the bigger ones too.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can even see there what we had to do to my grip to make the fat ones work. You see the relief cut?
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, the mag release wasn't going to work. But yeah, no, that other one, I do have one of the bigger ones as well. It does not work with these grips on in this setup, but my hands are so big, dude. I'm
Hmm.
just asking to drop the magazine in the middle of running.
I get that. Yeah, and then my main match gun, it's essentially the same thing. It's the same exact springs, same reach reduction kit. The only thing different is I got the primary machine slide cut to reduce the weight on top, and it's milled for an SRO.
Oh, nice.
Um, I like it. There is a noticeable difference in that top weight reciprocating because I mean that's where the mass is at. I do notice this makes it snappier, and I like that. It doesn't feel. I mean, it's perception like as like sluggish. So I'm debating on getting that one cut too. I just haven't done it yet, but I do like these window cuts and the primary machine slide on this. I like how it's a little snappier.
Yeah.
But everything else is the same. 13-pound hammer spring reach reduction. Nothing too crazy away from factory. Not like nothing like insane.
I like those relief cuts a lot. I definitely had considered doing it, but knowing I've had so much time now on the weight, like we were talking about, if I'm gonna do it, I'll do it on the new one that I recently ordered. Obviously, this has been my training and match gun for a year and a half, and I got the DWX as a backup to it. Now, this one has no gas pedal. This one does. It allows me to go back and forth to make sure that my fundamentals are always there and that my little extra race pieces and stuff like that are never creating a hinder, right? Which
Hmm.
they did. So I'm glad I did that because it took me months, a couple of months of going back and forth. I'd compete with this one, I'd compete with that one, I'd practice with this one, compete with that one, I'd teach with this one, compete with that one. I competed with that one most of the time still, but whenever I'd pull this out to compete with it, it was still just as good, right?
Hmm.
But I'm thinking I might do something like that on this new one that I got coming and try this same fat grip setup, but in aluminum with an aluminum magwell, relief cuts in the top and in the sides. And I'm thinking that might be a because I also want to do another barrel for it as well with a port, just for those fun outlaw matches and whatnot, where I show up and I thought my guns were cool, and then I realize I'm not the cool kid at all at the table, and someone shows up with some, comped imported Atlas or something like that. You're like, oh,
Some people make more money than we do, man. It's
yeah,
okay.
no kidding, right? I got some buddies who are sponsored by Atlas too around here who are just always showing up with the new one, and it's just like, I want
That's cool, man.
it.
I mean, good for them.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. Here's the thing. You know what's great about your friends getting the really expensive guns you can't afford? You
You
still
get,
get to play with them.
yeah, yeah. You get to mess with their shit, and if it breaks, it's not your problem.
Exactly. Like one of my clients got that Sand Viper from Terran Tactical. Now I had always looked at it. I love bronze. I love FDE. My race car is like purple and bronze. Um,
Hmm.
and she pulled that thing out, man, and I'm like, all right, let me play with it. Now it was awesome and all, but she shoots a Staccato XC that's well broken in, and I picked up her Staccato XC after that and shot it, and I was like, I like this more. And then I picked up my Shadow and shot it. I go, I like this more than both of them.
Hmm.
And it was like, sometimes we look at it and it's like just because it, you know, costs so much and it's so pretty, like it's really anything more. It's kind of like back when I used to race cars. I have a 714 horsepower BMW 335i that's been now built into a drift car. I can't tell you the amount of Corvettes and otherwise that got absolutely obliterated by that car many years ago on tracks. But anyway, um,
I'm gonna pretend like I know what any of that means. I
uh,
am not a gearhead. I'm not a mechanic. I have no idea what any of that means.
it's
You
like
said gibberish.
seeing I mean, not in the same sense, but it's like seeing a Honda Civic beat a Ferrari type deal, like in Fast and Furious when he was like, "How much was that?" He's like, "More than you can afford," type deal, and then he races him in the Supra and smokes him over the train tracks. It's the
Oh,
same concept, yeah,
okay, gotcha.
yeah. So it's like again, it's just like we hear all the time. It's not the arrow, it's the Indian.
Yep,
Oh,
yep. So then, are you're sticking with Elo for next season, right?
yes.
Based on the magwells and the weight and everything. Like, why did you leave carry optics then?
Because in reality, and not that it's really a problem, like I shot Carry Optics Nationals last year and it was no issue. I have my preference as far as I was a match director. I help out with IDPA as well. I play steel, I play multi-gun. So it's a lot of different rule books to juggle, right? Um, and because of that, I just at one point started to go, hold on because a striker fire is a single action. It's an internal hammer fired gun. And they don't check the difference between that. Not that I'm complaining about it, but to me, I do not like, I would rather them put a trigger poundage requirement on our single action or let us use the safety like we do now in LO. And they could have avoided LO entirely, I think. But obviously, LO, I think, was built to kind of save open or give the open shooters somewhere to come down to who didn't want to shoot open anymore or get more people into open by making it kind of a crossover thing. But I don't know. It's just, even if I was still shooting my 6 hour, I would still be in carry optics, I'm sure. But I love reloading. I dry fire a lot. I have always gotten a high off of perfect reloads. Like I just love it. Like you saw in that standards video I posted the other day. Like I just it's just for me when I stick a good reload in there and it doesn't have to be forced. I never have to rush it. It happens so smooth, so clean for me majority of the time. And I can do it without the magwell. That's the thing. But I like not having to ever think about a reload during a match, ever. Now, one, it's between I practice it so much, and two, it's because even if I'm off a hair, the magwell will save me. So if I'm just hauling ass out of a position, I'd rather have that little bit there because I am doing race gun and I like race gun. Hence why now it's race gun nats and factory nats. Obviously, guys in carry optics will show up to a major and beat the best open shooters, right? So I'm not saying anything to that. It is simply just it's easier for me with the firearms that I have um, to do limited optics. Once I got the DWX, it kind of sealed the fate too because me having another Shadow 2, that other one will probably have carry optic scripts on it the majority of the time. But I don't like having to draw from double action pull in hold on, what did Pat say? You just
He
wanted
said
to
you
put
just wanted
more
to put more
put more
gold shit on
gold
your
shit on
gun.
your gun. He knows me better than most people in this entire sport, and he's not wrong.
I'm glad you saw it. I was waiting to, holler out to Pat. Be like, I don't know Pat, but I like what he's saying. But you were on a rant. I was letting you talk.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I know that too. I do like my Gold Eye Cerakote too. So like obviously I made all this to match but I like reloads and I like that I hate getting jammed up in a reload because my mind it'll mess me up. Um it's just an aspect I don't want to mess with in carry optics unless, I'm choosing to do factory nationals, which I probably am this year. That and race gun that. So a time will come, near April, May, where, like I said, that other Shadow 2 is going to be set up for carry optics, and I will be going back and forth. Um, just again, like I said, with these, make sure the fundamentals are there to where I can pick up any of them and perform just as well all the time, which I can. But it's just I got to do that blending in real time with practice with my hands to be able to really do it in the field without having to think about it. Right.
Do you find that an issue? Like crossing platforms
I
like
used
that?
to I used to, And nowadays, no, like again, I did that review today on the MMP 2.0s, and I was shooting the steel style challenge stage faster than I ever have with that. Just it just so happened that I
Hmm.
was. So I the only time it does is when I think it does. I'll put it that way. Pat's another guy who always reminded me of that. Like I told him one day, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm fighting my gun, man. Do you ever make an adjustment to your grip? And he goes, wait a minute. You think about your grip? And I go, oh, that's the problem. Knew immediately was the issue because I'm thinking about it, right?
Yeah, you're thinking about that instead of what you should have been thinking about. I don't know.
Exactly.
I think it does kind of happen. I shoot my Glock a lot still. Like I just shoot a 17,
Yeah.
and I use that for training because I do think that it like keeps me honest. Like I started shooting that a lot more once the off season came upon us, like the last month or so when it's cold and wet. I go shoot my Glock, and it's kind of reminding me to to think about my grip. Like I kind of think about it in the opposite way. Like the Glock keeps me honest. I'll say, like if I'm
Yeah.
not doing something, my tension gets relaxed in my support hand. Like after a reload, I notice it more in my Glock. Like even just getting on the gun and that first round going back out, I'm like, I something was different between the two shots.
Yeah.
And like I think I can get away with more with the shadow, which is it's more forgiving, I'll say. I don't know. It's just a thought.
I agree. Dude, I 100% agree. Like I said, with my Walther, with my PDP, anyone who shot a PDP knows we all have this kind of same consensus, right? They're snappy, but it doesn't matter because they come right back, right? It's kind of the beauty thing about the PDP, where if my shadow does this, the PDP goes whack.
Hmm.
But it's this that matters. So I shoot it slower just because I'm not as used to it, right? But it's that same thing will happen with that. Not as bad as the Glock, but because it's not don't have these swells, at least for me, it doesn't have the ergonomics this does. It's still a great gun ergonomically. But obviously you just look at these alone and just the amount that's put into that grip in general, right? There's just so much more you can do. There's so many more curves, concaves, and things to grab onto. And again, that means nothing to some people, which is 100% understandable, right? But we're talking about us, right?
It's so
My,
shiny, so
it's,
bright.
it's so shiny, dude. Yeah, and I just cleaned these grips too. And I'll give that piece of advice out. Actually, I've shot with lock grips for a couple of years now. They've been supporting me through my endeavors and my shooting career here, and I really, really appreciate them. Um, I got to help them develop these grips, some of the new base pads, and it's just been a pleasure working with them. But um, my point is there is that they lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, cleaning. That's what I wanted to say. Was cleaning the brass. For those who don't know, it's as simple as this: barkeeper's friend, hot water, toothbrush. You're welcome. Blow them out with an air gun though. Blow them out with an air gun, especially even the lockjaws. Because good luck wiping that with a towel. That's like trying to wipe the sharp side of a knife with a towel and expecting not to cut the towel in half. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, fun fact: they get that shiny because of barkeeper's friend. That's all I do. I cover them in that powder. It's like baking soda. Put some water on a toothbrush, swirl it around, clean them off. Takes me all of 5 minutes. Blow them off with an air gun,
Hmm. I
and I
just take a
clean them.
wire brush to mine and just get the dirt and grime out of them, but mine aren't as sharp as yours.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to mess up. Like my hands are like I got a massive callus on this side of my wrist right here, just from drawing against that. Like I have cut the inside of my hand open every time I draw. I just keep digging it deeper and deeper and deeper. And I have cut into my wrist, it seems so bad. The arteries up here, for too far down. But yeah, it cuts into my wrist every time I draw.
Don't you don't mind? I guess I'll just say. I don't know how else to say that. Like, that
Well,
doesn't sound fun to me.
I've gotten used to it. Like the thing is like even like on my palms here, like yeah, we all have our calluses from shooting and whatnot, but I've never had calluses like I have now from shooting these grips for a year, over a year now. When I'm grabbing onto those every single day, sometimes twice a day, um, for hundreds of reps, it just as long as I stay consistent. Now coming back from my hunting trips, um, yeah, I didn't notice, but like 10 or 11 draws in, I felt my hand get wet and I wiped it on my pants real fast. I was like, oh, that was blood. And it was just ripping down my hand. And so I wrapped it, taped it, and I was good. And then when it healed up, I used that for a while. When it healed up, I let it get cut again. And now it is literally healing up. You can't even tell. But it like cuts it in a very weird way and then heals up very fast. I got a big kind of light spot here, but it's a rub cut, kind of like a road rash, I guess you could say, where it'll
Does that
start
not
bleeding
get
in
you at like
spots.
majors?
Mm-mm. By the time I get to a major, I've been practicing so much it's a very thick callus and it's not cutting anymore. The only reason it's cutting now is because I spent a month hunting,
Mm.
essentially, right? And I got the dry fire every time I was home. I dry fired like a madman, but and I would cut it, and then I'd be gone for 2 weeks. It
Mm.
wasn't touching it at all, so it would heal. And now I just got back yet again, and 2 days ago, and yesterday I dry fired. Today I dry fired and live fired, and it's got spots again.
I just got soft hands then. That doesn't sound fun to me. I think this is enough grip. I can feel it. There's texture and friction. Bleeding doesn't. I don't get it. I
I
don't
would
get
say
it.
you have soft hands, man. I just don't.
Yeah, yeah. I got soft hands, boy. You can tell me. That's fine. I lotion every night.
Dude who spent third of his life in the military has soft hands. Yeah, okay.
I do.
Uh,
People would say I do. I do.
yeah, well, it's just the carpenter and concrete, man. I've been grabbing rocks and wood on a daily basis for years. And prior to that, I was a machinist. So I was
Mm-hmm.
grabbing metal, right? Like I've and building cars. I have been beating my and skateboarding from like the age of 8 till or the age of 7 until the age of 14. How many times did I come down on my hands, right? My hands have seen hell. I broke every finger in both hands, shattered that thumb, broke this hand. All those fingers are the same size.
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything you could do. I chopped off the end of this pinky. I chopped my middle finger straight up like this.
You don't
I
have to live your life that way, dude. You can like take care of yourself a little bit,
have
just a little bit.
That is the wonderful thing about the fact that I am on my way out in construction, and I have obviously, as you've seen, I've kicked off my. I've been teaching for almost a decade, and I have kicked off my training company, and I'm primarily focusing above all on teaching law enforcement and military, and that's just it's going to be much easier. Now, of course, the hazard might be just as high, but I mean, I was on rooftops and in 30-foot holes more than often enough to not see teaching shooting full time as a anything more dangerous. Generally, I'm standing behind, right? If I want to be as risky as I would be hanging off the edge of a roof, I would be standing in front of their firing line and hoping that no one shoots me.
Mhm.
So it's to me, I don't know. I'm trying not to live my life that way anymore. Just focusing on this industry above all, and so I'll let these grips be what keeps my hands tough for the most part.
I get that. Do you so hold on, I lost my train of thought for a sec. Since you're focusing more on training people, don't you offer something that's like you'll help a fit a gun or help select a gun for a person, so then you'll do that
Yeah,
as well as like teach them how to shoot it like the same day or
yeah,
like different sessions? What?
yeah. My goal all overall with it, and just to clarify too, like I am scheduling, but for 2025 right now, nothing for 2024 at this current point in time. I am still busy with what I'm doing up until then. But I do that like to help people all the time.
Mm,
Um, I work with Hunters Insight Firearms in Ortonville, Michigan, and very often will I get a call from them and they'll say, hey, these people came in, they're looking for this or that. And what I'll do is I will meet them up at the shop and I always start with, a couple of tests that I've developed, and it's not like it's rocket science at all, but it's just from being an old bodybuilders coach, I understand how the hands work, right? And it's nothing fancy, it's nothing crazy. I just have my way of doing it, and I'm a 10 out of 10 success rate so far. At least I've never had anybody that I helped find their first platform. I'll generally, I'll go to the range with them and I'll let them try a couple of different guns that I have, but in a way that it's like I try to really do it in a way where they don't become biased based on what it looks like or based on like how fast it shoots. It'll be one round essentially at a time, and then three or four to do a couple of doubles, just to get a feel for it once they think it feels good. But you generally just putting your hands on a gun without going to the range at all can figure out what's right for you if you know what to look for, right? And so essentially, I will take someone to the shop and teach them a good grip, and then so they understand kind of what their hands need to do for what they're going to be doing, because it's like trying to sell somebody a car based on its performance when they just got their license in a simulation, I guess you could say, right? They have no idea,
Mhm.
so you got to give them the information otherwise. But I do, and I offer even online coaching as well, because again, my overall goal with teaching in general is to empower people, to increase the survivability of people, to help influence the gun industry in a right manner, where there's less of these poor gun handling skill accidents, where there's less people who think they're too good to know these things or they're already too good that they don't have to, but rather trying to get people started. Like if there's any people that I can touch to help get them started in the right direction, it's a lot better than sometimes where you have that, and this isn't anything towards, this is just a general term here, like that Glock guy who has 10 built Glocks that barely work, right? And they're still trying to convince their 21-year-old female cousin who's trying to get and learn firearms because she moved to a rough area after college, and he is telling her everything sucks but a Glock. You gotta get one of these, which is where some of my hatred for Glock comes from. Is the amount of people like that I've ran into growing up, the people
Hmm.
that I was around. And it's not a hatred for Glock; it's a hatred for my past experience with people trying to force that on people, because they didn't know any better. They don't know anything else, and that's a lot of what happens. It's always that one guy. I always say it's that one gun guy in a group, right? And they'll go to the person who they think is the most knowledgeable, rightfully so. But they only know that person. That person may know this much. And it's not that I know the most, but I know quite a bit. I test, try, review a lot of different platforms, a lot of different guns. I shoot a multitude of divisions. I teach pistol, I teach rifle, I shoot long range. I'm not an expert, but I'm a jack of all. Or sorry, I'm not a master of all trades, but I'm a jack of all, and I'm pretty damn good at a lot of them. So I think that it's part of what makes me personable and significant as an instructor and a teacher, and as someone trying to continue to influence this community, to be willing to give them the truth right off the bat and help them get going. Because guess what? If I were to show somebody the right gun, next thing you know, they enjoy shooting so much that I see them line up next to me on my squad at a USPSA match. For me, there's few things better.
Mhm.
Like that moment right there for me is more payment enough than anything ever could be, because I just brought somebody in. And I didn't have to con him in. I didn't have to lie to him in. I didn't have to try and push gun rights and Second Amendment laws, or you get what I'm saying. I don't have to do all of that. I gave them the tools to create their own success with it, and now they don't have a negative relationship with it.
Hmm.
So, like, if I have someone I'm giving a private lesson, which has happened multiple times, and they pull out a Glock 43. Now, but in the back of my mind, I'm going, no, And they'll say, all right, how much do I load up? I go, I want you to load up 5 rounds in one magazine. They're like, do you want me to load up 2? I go, no, no. And those of you who have done this too know, and I know none of them would be offended by this, but I actually purchased that Walther PDP for this reason, um, because they couldn't hit paper at 21 feet. There was one shot on a full size USPSA target after 5 rounds, and I said, unload it, show clear, bag it. What? You're not shooting that today. What? But I wanted to shoot my carry. No, we're going to teach you how to correctly and properly hold a gun, how to pull a trigger, right? And what it feels like to put holes on paper where you're aimed. And then we can revisit your danger toy when we're done. But like that right there is a prime example. When someone says, I got a Glock 43 as their carry gun, it's like, oh, I put them in this category, and not of that they didn't know better, because they didn't know better. But I put them in this category of almost like that pot of people to try and help. I guess you could say,
Mhm.
like, I don't want you to ever have to pull that out to defend your own life because you got a CPL and you carry that and you don't know how to shoot. You're going to hit. I don't want to be that guy over to the right that you accidentally hit. And I don't want it to be my mom or my brother or my sister in laws or any of that, right? I don't want it to be you. I don't want it to be anybody. I'd rather no one get shot at all, right? But as someone who teaches defense and CPL and concealed carry, home defense, you don't do it just for the money. That's for sure. Because it ain't a glorious thing in that aspect. You do it because you want to help people.
I'm now gonna sign up for IDPA and find your name and come shoot my Glock 43 just to piss you off. I thought about going to grab it, but you were talking. I was just gonna sit there and hold it while you were mocking us openly, sir. I'll come do it. Let's see. I'll do it with all 7 rounds. I'll do it.
With all 7
All
rounds.
7. I'll carry 14
It is
mags.
a great pocket gun. It really is. For like something that's that small and compact, and for guys like us who practice a lot, we can do it. But
Yeah.
for someone who shoots once a year, they should not be carrying one of those.
No, I agree. It is a hard gun to like get a hold of.
Yes.
I
And
have
that's kind of my point.
I have the 43X, so it is a little bit better on the grip.
It's got the extension, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually like a longer pistol grip on the frame, so I do like it, but I get where you're coming from. I just felt personally attacked, you know.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna learn IDPA rules now just because I'm gonna go
Gonna
buy a
come
fishing
come
vest and
whoop my
everything.
ass with a Glock 43. I hope you do.
I won't do it from inside the waistband because all this stuff, but I'll get a fishing vest just because of you. I'm gonna buy one right now. I'm on Amazon. I'll put all the patches on it,
Put every patch.
all the
Yeah, I wish.
patches.
Hell, screw it. Run it in carry optics or limited
I,
minor.
I got the MOS. I'll put a dot on it. Let's do
Put a
this.
dot on it. Run it in carry optics. You
Yeah,
have
let's
less
do it.
rounds than single stack.
Yeah. How many rounds can I have? 10? I'll get an extension. I need to double it almost.
141 millimeter single stack. Because it's single stack, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 So 141 millimeter single stack magazine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It would be like this long.
Yeah. It'd be sticking way out the bottom.
Yeah, I could hold it at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like extendo Glock mag.
Yeah, I'll just push real hard.
So one thing I definitely wanted to cover too, Brandon, is what let's start with this. What base pads do you use to get your 23, 24, and what's your capacity on your Shadow 2 magazines?
I run all the Henning ones. I like the
Okay.
Hennings. They're easy. I mean, you can get them Shooters Connection, the Steger Pro Shop. Never had an issue with one coming off, even hitting hard gravel or the ground. They come off easy to clean them out. I just got them and have stuck with them ever since. I run the I think all mine got the MBX followers in them because when I bought a big stock of them when I first got a Shadow, and I just got the kit whichever website I got them on. I can't remember.
Yeah, I got
And
you.
just said add the MBX, and I'm pretty sure they're all. Are they all 23 plus one or 24 plus one? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know.
probably 23 if I
Yeah,
had to guess, because
yeah, I think they are.
the only ones I can fit 24 plus one in are the AC magazines with an AC follower and spring.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I know some dudes. Yeah, mine are. Yeah, you're right. Mine are 23.
And that's for that fluke. Um, if it's like, say it's I'm taking steel on the move or something like that, and it's an 18 round course, and I don't plan to reload, and I'm taking one or two on the move. I'm just gonna upload one extra round because I can. I have full reliability with them. Um, but you, I used to, so my match magazines, my main three, I'll use the nickel plated mags, and I pre polish them before every major match, which is I think just because I'm again shiny guy. But
Hmm.
yeah, I use the Hennings on my DWX. My DWX uses all Henning base pads with the P10Fs. But for the Shadow 2, I actually use. So I work with lock grips on developing these. These are the new lock grips base pads, and I've been able to get 24 in a couple of them. Not all of them. This one does. The one I have marked white does. But the beauty of these, dude, is look at that. That's a Allen key on the bottom. So if you wanna replace the detent, you can. So the thing's not out of commission when you lose a detent, and they'll send you another one if you need it. So
Huh.
that's kind of one beautiful thing about these. And I'll tell you what, I beat the hell. Now the prototypes we had before are the ones that you may have noticed look like turtle shells. I still use those because for some reason the two that I use at matches, they don't get dropped on the ground because they're reload magazines. So they've always been good, but they couldn't take the beating, and it was too much machine time. So we went with these, or Locke went with these, and honestly, they're awesome. I beat the shit out of a couple of them in dry fire, and I have a bunch of silver ones that I use indoors only, and they are beat to hell, and
Hmm.
they are not a problem. And then the other one that I used to, yeah, I don't know, I run three different base pads, but is the Taylor Freelance brass. So my Mag One, I add even more weight to my gun, bro.
More gold, more weight.
Yep, and this is what puts it at that weight limit right here. Is
Hmm.
this. So at when I got these oversized grips, I went to the chronograph at Handgun Nationals, and I was like, before the match started, I was like, "Can we weigh my gun?" Um, and they were like, "Sure," and they did it. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm 57 or 57 ounces, 57.8 or something like that." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Aren't I overweight?" They're like, "No, this isn't carry optics." I'm like, "Yes." No weight limit in limited optics. So another reason I'm in limited optics.
Just
Um,
because of the weight, dude, you got so you're like the Liberace of like limited optics. You got so much gold.
and
It's not even funny.
then I got the gold Henning on there as well. But
Of course
obviously,
you do. Of course you do,
if
dude.
if Henning made gold, like I'm not a flashy dude. Like I don't wear jewelry or anything like that. But I've always loved the
But my
colors.
guns do.
But no, my guns do. I got that 24 karat gold Shadow too. No. Um, I loved anodized gold, and I love the color of brass. I just always have. Um, Even back when I was an artist, I did used a lot of black and gold mediums. I just loved it. So it carried forward, and once I got the shadow and realized I could do that to it, I'm like, send it. DWX, send it. As soon as I can get a gold trigger for this thing, I will.
That's hilarious. Yeah, please
Hey,
do it. I'm all about it. I don't do it. Mine are basic. Like mine, this is the only color I have on my match gun is the blue, and that's because that's the only color they had left. And I said I don't care, and it's just a color. All my mags are different colors. We're just different people. I fully respect the game you do, though. We need to get you some like personal, super sharp grill esque, like Nelly Paul Wall panels. Like you need some Paul Wall Shadow 2 panels.
that would be hilarious,
That
dude.
would be baller. I would be all about it.
You know who's even more so than me is Larry Coons. You know Larry?
No, well, no, I don't think so.
Larry Coons. That's a good friend of mine. I get to shoot with him at Delmarva this year in Maryland. Um, he has even more gold than me. He's got the trigger done, the barrel done, cuts in the slide so you can see through it, gold hammer, everything.
That's so
He-
baller.
yeah, he's got me overdone, and like his outfit when he's out there, like you see, I match, but like I'm wearing red, white, blue, and gray, and the
Mhm.
red, used to it matches my trigger on this. I guess I found a way to make red and gold mix like Iron Man, I guess you could say. But Larry is head to toe, custom shoes, hat, all of it, bro, and he kills it. That dude is a G on the range.
I love it. I'm all about it. I can't do it. I don't know. I don't think like that, but I respect the game.
I've always been. I mean, I was an artist growing up. Look at me right now. Look at the color behind me. Look at the shirt I'm wearing.
Hmm.
Right, like I someone you will never see me wearing like off color or unmatched clothing because I can't handle
Can't do it.
it. I can't do like I don't dress all nice. Like I'm wearing like a black thermal. Like I don't I wear 511 pants every day, but if I'm wearing green pants, I'm not wearing a green shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt or a white shirt or a gray shirt. But I
I
used
go.
to color code my closet growing up, dude, because it was just I was so OCD about my colors.
Hey, that's what you like, man. I'm all about it. I respect it. I'm not bashing anything. I literally only have these colors because that's the ones they had when I wanted to buy it. I, I don't know. I would run purple if that's what they gave me. I don't know. I don't care.
One more thing I want to make sure that we touch on is what holster? What holster? I don't need to go into mag pouches. We saw I run the Hennings. The mag pouches are mag pouches, but what holster do you run?
I run a GX product.
Nice,
Yeah, I really like it. Basically, just a bucket, gun comes right out, and then
yeah,
just a basic boss hanger.
nice.
And the I like
Hey,
the
I like the blue matching. I like the matching blue.
see, not even intentional. That was a rune pad they had going, and I just said, "Give me whatever color you got. Whatever the first one was, I just got it."
Speaking of that, I just before I forget, I got to make sure I mention this because Rune again is also another sponsor of mine, and Aaron takes such good care of me. I
Hmm.
use all Rune tactical springs and followers,
Hmm.
all on everything. And I've never ever, I mean, like you haven't with your MBX, I haven't had a single issue ever with a Rune spring. I got one in before that literally like corroded overnight because the coating was just not the best, and he sends them out for that. He doesn't do it,
Hmm.
and he immediately sent me more. Like he immediately replaced it, no questions asked at all. So sorry, I didn't want to. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I
No, it's
realized
good
that
to
I'd be
know.
doing him a disservice to not mention when we were talking about our magazines, and I forgot to say that, and I mentioned AC. So,
Oh no, it's all good. I mean, yeah, it's my. I run my stuff pretty simple.
yeah.
And then the double alpha magnet pouches,
Oh,
bullets out.
nice.
I like those. I like running the bullets out better for my reloads.
Same.
It's just smoother for me. It was just more natural. I can't explain why, and I didn't question it. I just kind of stuck with it. But they're all holding up. No issues with any of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have one of those. That was actually my Barney mag holder for a long time, up until a couple months ago. And that's because, like, that's what I ran. I ran a GX. Um,
Hmm.
all of my carry holsters and duty holsters are all strike 80, but I ran GX. It was a red GX, so it fit the color scheme. Or sorry, red inside, carbon outside. I meant to bring it upstairs, but I forgot. Um, and that is still what I would be running if I had two belts, which I need to do. But I am running a Ghost Hydra P nowadays. Now I'm used to it. Now it's you get used to any holster, you'll be fine. But nothing is like the speed cut on that GX. That was I could draw the fastest, the most controlled, the most smoothly, getting that thing out. And I really am considering cutting a little bit away at the top of that. But do I do that or just build another belt for the cost that I already paid for that holster anyway? So, but this holster right here fits both of these.
Oh, well, that
That's
makes a
so
difference. Yeah,
that's
that's kind of a big deal.
yeah. So
It
that
makes
was
it
a
easy.
no-brainer. And all of these pouches, Henning pouches, are all DWX pouches, P10 pouches, or SIG 320 pouches. The
Oh,
one in the front is the only Shadow 2 pouch I have left. So when I run the DWX, I generally take this one off completely. Because the
mm,
DWX magazines are P10s and they're a little bit bigger than the Shadow 2 magazines. So Shadow 2 magazines fit flawlessly in the DWX ones or the P10 ones. And eventually I will just run all those. Uh, but by the time I start buying more of these, I'm just going to start building another belt anyway. So this will probably end up. This will actually be the holster that gets retired whenever I build another belt. This is just for now, at least for the last like 6 months or so, because of running both guns, and so that I can run the same belt, both guns, and it's not such an issue if I have to change guns at a match for the match director or range master to approve, right? Not that they would have a big issue with that, but it is not the same exact gun. It is slightly different, but I also have a gas pedal here, no gas pedal here. So, at least as far as I've been told, when asking at majors, I always generally find the range master and ask them, hey, if this were to happen, this is what I brought as a backup. Would this work? This, that. And they say it shouldn't be a problem. Because I do have a little bit of a hindrance on this compared to what's done to this. It's not a significant advantage, yada, 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 all that crap. But once I have that second belt built, I actually will be using. I sent my DWX out to Big Dog Steel, and that's how they got the DWX holster. So obviously, I got a holster in return out of that, and I love it, man. It's that carnivore holster that everybody's been using lately with the lock on the side.
I've seen
Yeah,
people run them. It's a switch lever. It's a
yeah,
switch instead of a locking lever, right?
yeah. And dude, it is awesome. Man, that is one of my favorite holsters I ever used. Now it is again still different from the GX. The way the GX is set up is one of a kind. Especially with again, I have the open flap speed cut because I have the gas pedal, the
Mm.
nitro fit. So I have even more room in there. I can't wait to go back to it. I really can't. Um, but for the time being, the Hydra works. I like it. DJ runs it, Deshaun Jenkins.
Mhm.
That's who I got the recommendation from initially because he was also someone who was running a CZ Shadow 2 and a DWX at the same time before he was running the Aliens from Luago Arms. So, oh, Pitbull. So my dogs came flying up the stairs. Both of them did. Hey guys,
Yeah, mine are
they're
barking at me
okay.
from the back room right now.
Are they?
Oh
But
yeah.
come here. Come here. She's all right. Well, she's ducking under that. There she is. Shug, say hi to the camera. You're being famous. But yeah, so all in all, it's a good holster. It is. There is better, but it gets the job done more than fine enough. And it's not like that draw to first shot is our make or break on a match or on a stage by any means. Now, can it? Sure, if you all ran it the exact same and one dude whipped out that first shot in 0.65 like Isaac Lockwood and did the rest just as good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, all right. You got us all by 0.4 seconds regardless.
Yeah, he's gonna do that.
Yep, and he deserves it. And at that point, you deserve it, dude.
Yeah,
100%.
he's,
No question.
that's burning it down. It's kind of unreal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's good like that. I spent a lot of time developing that as well. Um, and I could do it with the uh, Big Dog steel holster, and I can do it with the GX, but I have a hard time doing it with the um, Hydra P holster because my finger hits that lever.
Oh,
So I have
oh,
to
runs
kind
off the
of arc
lever.
my
Oh,
hand a
okay.
little bit more with this holster, to where with the GX or the Big Dog Steel, I don't have to at all. So that's something that I work on the quality of my draw with this holster and have for a while now. But for years, it was me trying to get that first shot out as fast as possible. So I don't have a problem with the fact that I've been having to work on quality of draw because it has worked out just the same as anything else has. And I'm sure, just like we were talking before, weights on your skates and so on. Whenever I go back to the GX, it may be just the same, and I won't notice a difference, or maybe all of a sudden I'm 0.15 or zero point 0.2 faster consistently.
Mhm.
Who knows? We'll find out, I guess. hopefully by next year, with the new Shadow coming, I will be running the GX again.
Hmm.
Anyway, so as soon as I have that second Shadow, I'll be running the GX on here, and then the DWX stuff will get moved to a whole other belt. So,
Well, cool.
but anyway, we've been on here for like an hour, almost hour 10.
Yeah,
So
it's about that time.
we're starting to lose our viewers. So we did get up to, I think, 9 or 10 at one point of guys
I
on
saw
here.
like 16 at one point, I think.
Oh, were they?
At one
Nice.
point, but yeah,
Cool. Hey, last
Yeah.
time I think we had half that. So
double.
yeah, bro. All right, Brandon. We will happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Brandon, hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving, man. And next week we will be back. We'll see what the topic is. Stay tuned. I will post it as a thread on YouTube, on my Instagram story, Alex_Cate, as always, as well as my Facebook story. So, one last thing I want to mention is if I did post a new blog this morning on how often to clean your gun, why, and based on duty, carry, or competition, and my recommendations. And that is on my website at www.atextraining.com. Again, thanks guys for watching. Brandon, thanks for everything as always, and we will see you guys next time.
Yep. All right. Catch everyone later.
Now it's again figuring out how to turn the live off, guys. Wait, I'll do it on the computer. We got this. There we go.